Week 1 of the NRL Finals had some blowouts and some very close matchups. Let's see if Week 2 lives up to the expectation. G'day guys, and welcome back to another episode of Tips and Predictions. This week, we've got week number 2 of the finals up on the block, and I am joined, very thankfully, by our fantasy expert, Longy. Longy's here to help me out this week. Big appearance for you. You haven't been on the tipping show much this year. How did your season finish up, mate?
Yeah, man, look, we started the year doing tipping together, and every single week we'd come back and you'd be there 8 out of 8. I'd be there with my pathetic 4 out of 8 tips. So I just retired to bring the channel average up, basically. And since I've left, you've killed it. So, no, good decision, I think.
Yeah, definitely been a good year. We're looking to keep the momentum rolling on in these finals. Moved up to the 36th rank overall, which is pretty good for me. And I'm looking to get a little bit higher to, kind of claim the big prize at the end of it all. If you haven't already, guys, if you're new here on the channel, please make sure that you like and subscribe. We bring out new content each and every week. Click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our new content. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok as well. And make sure you also head over to thecasualathlete.com.au to get some of our brand new merch. Yes, that's it. We are releasing our merch at this point in time. I am currently wearing the white hoodie. I love it to death, and I hope you guys do too. I will put that link in the description for you. And now we move on to the two big matchups this week. They are very interesting. Couple of teams got trounced last week. Couple of teams got away with very, squeaky wins. What are your thoughts, especially first on the Storm versus the Roosters, Longy?
Man, it was the tale of two games, right? I mean, the Storm rocked up to their game. People were tipping them for an upset, and they got absolutely destroyed. So, I mean, I'm going to go into the stats in a bit because that's where I live. But I just felt like the Broncos won the middle battle, and there were some clear indicators there that the Storm weren't even competitive in that regard. On the other side, the Roosters, did they deserve to beat the Sharks? I'm not saying they didn't, but that was a game where neither side really sort of stepped up to the plate. I think Nico Hines had a great performance, but his team didn't go all the way with him. So, yeah, look, Sam Walker clutched it, and they got this spot, right?
Yeah, really a coming-of-age moment, I'd like to think, for Sam Walker. And the Roosters as a whole, they really almost galvanized together when Teddy went off the field. I thought it was a big chance of capitulation. I mean, we watched it together, and you could just see the kind of air let out of the whole sideline, whole box as soon as Teddy got sent off for that sin bin. And you'd think, having such a prominent player, club captain, he leaves the field, you think that they would just lose their minds, but they stuck together and they did it well. And they basically got there without half of their back five. So yeah, massive credit to them. A couple of those guys are going to be out this week. Unfortunately, they are going to be
missing. Let's talk about that, man, because they won without Tedesco last week. Can they win with Tedesco and without? All right, so we're missing Joey Manu, Joseph Suoli'i, Dan Tupou, Billy Smith. Probably the strongest part of their team is those edges. Can they win without those?
It's going to be extremely tough. I think the Storm, moving on to them a little bit, they tend to respond pretty well after a loss as well. And a loss in that fashion too, to put up a duck egg against the Brisbane Broncos, probably not the way they wanted to enter these finals. I think the Storm potentially could make a bit of a statement this week and really nullify that back five. It's not looking as strong as usual. Guys like Paul Momirovski, Corey Allen, yes, they've played in some big games in the past, but I don't know. I just think that not having too much football under their belt could come back to haunt the Roosters this week.
Yeah, look, I think the Storm too, they're going to respond, like you said. So they're a pretty intelligent team. They know Brandon Smith well too. Look, Brandon Smith, he's had a pretty good season, pretty good back half of the year, but he's still not playing 80 minutes, and there's probably still questions about him in terms of motor compared to some of the other hookers in the comp. I'm predicting that the Storm will come to this game, and you'll know I'm right if Brandon Smith has 40-plus tackles in this game. So I'm thinking they're going to send bulk traffic straight at him. they're going to try and take out his go forward in the middle after how they were destroyed last week by Brisbane. And they're just going to send traffic right at him because last week, look, Broncos middles. So we got the starters got 102, 180, 193 meters, and Eden Heather and Palacia on the bench, 140 and 153 meters. They just blasted through the Storm. The Storm have to do something about that. I think they go for Brandon Smith.
Yeah, that's something that we've been saying all year as well here on the channel, that the Storm, their forward pack, as opposed to maybe recent years, isn't exactly the thickest or the bulkiest, as you might say. They've got big Nas. They got Nas there, and they've struggled to find a bit of form this year. I think that guys like Christian Welch got dropped from Origin, probably not back to his best after back-to-back season-ending injuries, and then Josh King stepped up, I will say, but is he a top lock in the NRL? I don't know about that one. And you'd probably say that one of their standouts this year has been Eli Katoa. And if they can get him going against a guy like, whether it be Nat Butcher or Angus Crichton, Su'a Wong, depending on the options that they go for, I think that they can take over this game pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you asked the question, is Josh King a top lock in this comp? Well, this week is the answer to that question, right? Like, he hasn't had this chance to play in a game like this and to have that chance to bounce back. I think Christian Welch, he's a true professional. He'll rock up this week. I look at the playmakers, though, for the Storm. And again, I'm going to stick to run meters because it's an indicator, right? So Harry Grant, first of all, he's a lagging indicator of the forwards' performance. 44 meters run, 10 missed tackles last week. You then go to the halves there, and you've got 65 and 50 meters for Cam Munster and Jerome Hughes. So those guys all play off forward momentum, and there basically isn't a half in this competition who can play without that forward momentum. I don't think there ever has been, really. There's no guy who can do that. Maybe 09 Jared Hayne or 2021 Turbo, someone like that. But other than that, like, they just need to go forward. So they need to find a way to generate some momentum that those guys can play off, because they're three of the most creative guys in the comp. And, when they have Pappenhausen as a foursome, they are unstoppable. But even now, they're still very strong, and they should win this game.
I will say as well for you, before I ask you to give me your prediction and I will go into mine, the Storm have won 8 out of the last 10 games against the Roosters. And maybe thinking back to some of those games that were, from memory, quite close. We had I think it was Luke Keary kicking a field goal. Then Pappenhausen kicked a field goal with 40 seconds left. And then Latrell kicks it from about 40 out. These are all great games. It's such a great rivalry, good matchup. We all remember the 2018 grand final where the Storm were favoured and the Roosters came out and they blasted them off the park in the first half and the game was done in 40 minutes. Are we going to see something like that this week, or do you think it will be more of a blowout?
My tip probably would have been the Roosters at full strength. So I think they needed that leadership in the forward pack that Warrior Hargraves would have given them. And I think they needed the backs. So they needed Joey Manu to exploit the fact that he's the best outside back on either side. They needed Joe Suoli'i there. Look, Xavier Coates is out for the Storm, but he's not in the same class as Joe Suoli'i. Dan Tupou on the other side in the air. I just think they needed to exploit those one-on-one matchups, the individual talent. But this team without those backs, without Angus Crichton, I'm going to go to the Storm. I think it's a really close game. I don't believe in the Storm's ability to put 80 minutes of dominance together against this Roosters side. So I'm going to say 23-22. Storm win it. It might be golden point, but I've got a feeling they're going to kick a goal in maybe the 78th minute field goal to lock it up. And I don't think the Roosters will get the chance to have a good shot. Maybe one from long range, but that's my call.
Yeah, very interesting to see who kicks the field goal as well. Can't remember too many from Hughes or too many from Munster as well. I think Pappenhausen is probably the number one field goal kicker there. So we'll see what happens. For me, as you can see, I've tipped the Storm here, and I will also be going with you, Longy, 1-12, but I will give you a scoreline prediction as you have provided me with one. I think the Storm get this done 20-12. I think they shoot out to a bit of an early lead, and it's left again to the Roosters to claw back into the game, and I think they will. They just don't have enough firepower at this point in time. The attack also struggled last week. They're a bit of a lucky try to Su'a Wong. They might need a bit of that again this week, but I think the Storm get that one done there. 20-12.
So you don't think Sam Smith's kick was intentional? The deflection to Suolong, that was.
Hey, look,
That was
I'm
quite a
happy for
masterclass.
I'm happy for Suolong because I talked about him very early on in the season
And
in
you
our
hyped him,
TikTok
100%.
interviews, and no one really watched it. But I'm pretty glad that he is now getting his opportunity, as I thought that he would by reading all the content. Sometimes reading pays off, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, it didn't happen with Blake Moser. I talked about him as well. So we'll see if he gets his shot next year. And before we move on to our next game, Longy, let's take a look at our brand new sponsorship here on The Casual Athlete. We are super proud. Let's take a look. Today's video is proudly sponsored by the Hills Cricket Academy. The Hills Cricket Academy is a sports centre for all ages looking to get into cricket. Whether you're looking to hone your skills or just looking for a hit, then the Hills Cricket Academy is the place for you. The centre provides 5 fully operational nets that can be hired at the click of a button. World-class coaches Nick and Luke have been nurturing young talent for over 10 years, and I'm sure they'll be able to get you or your team's game to where it needs to be. Located at Unit 17, 14 to 16 Stanton Road, Seven Hills. Book a net or become a member today. The link is in the description below. And be sure to mention the Casual Athlete, and the boys down at the Cricket Academy will be more than happy to accommodate you.
Yeah, I've got to say, man, having been down there on the weekend, I feel like Birdo taught me a thing or two about cricket.
Mate, I've got to say, you're one of the worst cricketers I've ever seen in my life. But I think next time we actually get you in the nets with the pads on, facing some of the young guns that they have down there at the Parramatta district.
Man, I'm willing. It's going to be embarrassing.
Yeah.
But
had a couple bolts to me on the weekend, and I'm a little bit worse for wear. A few bruises, bumps, and all. So now we move on to the second game that we have here. And it's a Saturday game, no Sunday games this week, where the Warriors will be hosting a home final. And how good is that for New Zealand, for the Warriors? They spent so many years here, it feels like. It feels like they spent nearly 10 years here with COVID. I feel like I've aged 10 years as well in that time. But what are your thoughts initially on this Warriors Knights matchup on the weekend, Longy?
I mean, just to take credit where it's due, I didn't think this team was going to do anything this year. I looked at this roster on paper. I've always loved Sean Johnson. I've always taken him in drafts. I feel like the forward pack was strong. I just didn't think the back line could keep up. I didn't think they'd creatively have enough in the tank this year. I thought they were building well towards the future, but I had them in like right at the bottom of the ladder. So very surprised. Very happy to see it. Of course, they deserve it. In terms of this matchup, look, we can't really read into last week's game against Penrith. It's a game without Sean Johnson. They just don't have a backup 7, really. They've got a number of guys who are very capable in that 6 role next to SJ, but they don't have anyone who can step into Sean's shoes. For this week, I came in with a fully fresh view of this. I just think, I don't know. I mean, it's a battle of 2 games, right? So you've got some very strong individual playmakers with some more workman-like role players in each spine. You have a very strong backline for the Knights, where they are the most explosive backline in the comp, really, on paper.
Yeah.
And then you got one of the best forward packs in the comp at the Warriors, and a top 3 defense as well. Now, I've seen this game a few times this year where the Warriors have come in and I've thought, oh, yeah, on paper, they might struggle to contain those guys on the edges, but they always seem to do it. I think it's partially due to their edge back rowers and the improvement in SJ in defense as well. So I'm going to have to lean towards the Warriors initially, but you might be able to convince me otherwise. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I feel like they're two very similar teams in a way. It seems a couple of superstars each side, but mostly role players for the most part. Guys like Wade Egan have stepped up this year. We've seen SJ probably comeback player of the year, and Tohu Harris, the ever reliable in the middle. I think the one guy for the Warriors that's probably the best forward out there at the moment is going to be Addin Fanua-Blake. And if he can get going, then look out, because he could score a try and then also take you for about 150 meters from about 20 runs. So, yeah, he's going to punish the Knights up the middle. They've got to be able to stop him. And guys like Daniel Saifidi, Leo Thompson, these guys have got to step up like they have been for the last 10 rounds. So, yes, I agree with you in saying that the Knights back 5 are on form. some of the best players in the competition right now, from guys like Dom Young, Greg Marzu, the guy that we have loved on this channel for years, to tell you the truth. Greg
love Greg.
Marzu.
We should get him on for an interview.
I know. Greg, hit us up. I swear to God.
We should have hit him up when he was in reserve grade. When we loved him then too. When he was at Parramatta, even.
When he was at Parramatta,
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where how do the Warriors go about stopping it? And I think it all comes down to if Shaun Johnson plays. Shaun Johnson obviously didn't play last week, and I think they missed his kicking game so much to even get on some level pegging with Penrith. They were just on the back foot constantly bringing it out of their own end and not really going anywhere. And no doubt he'll come under some pressure this week, having maybe a bit of an injury cloud. Normally teams target that kind of player, and especially the caliber of player that he's been this year. I think that his kicking game could get challenged, but if he can get it going, then I think the Warriors are all good. Plus the home crowd atmosphere has just got to G you up.
I mean, yes, yeah, absolutely. I think Shaun will play better than everyone's expecting, though. I think he doesn't necessarily rely on that pure athleticism anymore, and he's a bit more of a skill player now. The other thing is he's attacking on the right side. I'm just thinking about Tyson Frizzell. Frizzell plays right side too. He's still playing right side from memory, isn't he? Even with Dylan Lucas coming.
So Shaun's predominantly attacking down the right side. It's normally Fitzgibbon's side, and he's out this week.
Yeah, so I'm thinking just straight away, like he's feeding the edge back rows so well. I think we could see a lot of tries on that right side. I just think Fitzgibbon's been playing great. There's a chance that Newcastle may move Frizzell to that edge, in my mind. I think that right edge is so potent for the Warriors. And do you trust Dylan Lucas to come in and play that role? He's played fantastic when he's come in, but this is a big finals game. You're in New Zealand. It's going to be a big atmosphere, and you're playing against the premier half in the comp, according to the poll I put up on Facebook this week. Do you think they might do something like that? And do you think it makes a difference?
I would also like to say that edge can be a bit shaky as well. We've seen Bradman Best and Greg Marzu maybe not have the greatest defensive communication as well. So,
true.
Rocco Berry and DWZ, if they can get going, and we know how good they've been, especially in recent times. I know Rocco Berry probably didn't have his greatest game on the weekend, but Dallin has been outstanding this year, career year for him. If they can, reconnect with SJ after him having a bit of a break, then it could get ugly for the Knights. And I think that they got the monkey off their back. They hadn't won a finals game for quite a long time until last week when they beat the Raiders in somewhat controversial circumstances as well. The occasion nearly got to them. I just wonder whether they can keep it together, as you said, in New Zealand. In saying that, with that concerns about the left edge, right edge being so potent for the Warriors, what are we thinking as a scoreline for this game?
I mean, I've been sort of back and forth on this because the Knights are an unstoppable force in attack, and they've won 10 games in a row, and they're just fantastic, right? They're really good to watch. But the Warriors are a juggernaut on D. Top 3 defense. They've locked up players like the ones we're talking about. So the Knights need to do something different in defense and really lock this game up. What's the weather going to be like on the weekend? Do you know?
Not a meteorologist, unfortunately.
I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that before I make my prediction. You give me your thoughts here while I have a look at that.
Yeah, as you said, super tough with the Knights coming in the back of 10 on the trot. I was very surprised in what I saw in them last week. I don't think they've given up 28 points for some time, and the Raiders really showed out. But Webster has been, in my opinion, the coach of the year. And if there's one team that he can get up to play a do-or-die game for the home fans, it's got to be this Warriors team, because this isn't just any home final for me. This is 4 years, potentially 3 to 4 years of hard work, dedication to what these players do. And some of them have been there the entire time and have not been able to play a finals game in New Zealand. And I've got to go with the Wars on this one. They are the $1.55 favorite at this point in time. That could change, but I just think, even though the record goes against them, they've only won 4 out of the last 10 games against the Knights. I've got to go with the Warriors 1-12. And I think it'll be a Sean Johnson field goal to decide it, 17-16.
Wow, big call, big call. I'm sort of thinking the same way as you in terms of the game flow. I think it'll be even scores, maybe the Knights in front by 2, something like that, with about 10 minutes to go. I think there's going to be some sort of expansive play. Someone like Metcalf or Nickel Clockstad or one of these boys is going to break free. Probably just it'll be a bit of an innocuous missed tackle, something like that, and they're going to find Watini Zelezniak or someone in support there. Maybe Sean Johnson. One of these boys has been scoring a lot of tries. Score a try to take the game. They might score another one after that, but I think it'll be maybe 4 points, 10 points, something like that. They're going to score to win it. But I think it's going to be scrappy. I think both these teams are coming in from a period where they haven't played a lot of finals footy. The way the Warriors plays really lends itself to finals. It's very forward focused. It's quite fundamental, which is funny to say with how entertaining they are.
Completion
but I
rate.
think both going to be a bit nervous. It's a big occasion. There's a lot of boys here who haven't played super high amounts of rep or finals footy. So it'll be scrappy at the start. That's my call.
Hopefully SJ can pull it out for the boys. He's been to one grand final before. I'd love to see him go all the way again and get the Wars there, but they got to get through the Knights this week.
Is it fair to say, man, before we move on, is it fair to say that game, as a casual fan, you're a Cowboys fan, I'm an Eels fan, so we're pretty pathetic. But as a casual bystander, these are the two teams that we're rooting for. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it's tough to split them in terms of bandwagon fanness. I don't like to jump on the bandwagon until it gets to finals time. Obviously, support my team right to the death, especially if they've got a chance to make it. But yeah, I think for either fan base, it could be a bit heartbreaking. Knights have showed a lot of promise over the last 10 weeks or so, and the Wars have been, almost a top 4 side for the majority of the competition. You could say that they've been the third best team all year so far. So yeah, going to be heartbreaking either way, and I want both teams to win it, but unfortunately they've got to play each other. So yeah, a difficult one to split, but hopefully we get 2 good games out of this weekend.
100%, mate.
So that is it for our tips and predictions this week, guys. Let me know what you think about our tips down in the comment section below. Please make sure that you like and subscribe to The Casual Athlete to make sure that you don't miss out on any of our new content. And we'll catch you on the next one, right, Longy?
Yep, I'll be here and hopefully get them right. Peace out, guys.